Welcome to From Wounded to Whole. All right, so today it's about the exact process of bringing yourself back to wholeness, being free from being at peace and being able to receive more with more ease in your life, in your relationships, in your business. So I'm going to start in this live by briefly exploring the six most common childhood wounds that essentially haunt us and block our ability to receive. And that's receiving more with ease and to create the results we want in our lives. So then we're going to go into moving into teaching you the exact process I use and I teach my clients to essentially bring us out of contraction and out of woundedness and out of fear and back into wholeness, into freedom and into peace. So that we can show up and move and essentially be in our lives and make decisions from that like deep spiritually aligned place. Okay. So this training is on reclaiming all the parts within us, especially the inner child. These parts of ourselves are already whole and already free, already bold, already fully confident, and already limitless. And this part of us is the magical child inside us, and it's essentially able to expects to receive in life. And what happens is essentially life creates conditioning through our lived experiences and our disappointments and traumas. And these are referred to as our misidentifications and perceived wounds. So essentially, these conditioned parts of ourself become armored like clothes to protect ourselves and to keep quiet, to stay small, and to expect little from life out of fear of being hurt or out of being deeply disappointed and out of feeling rejected. So, how many of us have felt that way, right? And so, that fear or contraction can happen, and where we're essentially we've lost a piece of ourself that we may now need to create and receive the life we want. So what I'm talking about today is almost like coming back full circle. How do we really reclaim that, and how do we heal the wounds that tell us that we should stay small and that's safer when we're small? And how do we bring all of our parts of us back into this place of wholeness, back into this place of confidence, so that we can live free and sovereign in our own hearts and in our lives? And how have real true agency over our heart, our choices, our life in a way that feels really aligned and creates us to receive the results we want from this place of ease and from this place of openness and from this place of peace. So that's what we're doing today. I hope you receive this from me today in this beautiful video I'm creating for you. So before I get into the meat of it, I want to introduce myself in case you don't know me. I'm Dawn Light. I'm a spiritual psychology coach, and I assist soul-led coaches, healers, and entrepreneurs to heal their unconscious familiar patterning so they are completely free to own their genius and shine in their leadership and in your life and in your relationships. So I'm also an absolute and total spiritual lover of life. And so there's a lot of healing arts and consciousness work that has trickled in as a huge part of my work. So if you want more deep dive healing of the patterns, and this is important, right, to look at and to activate easeful receiving of your own innate genius within yourself to come alive in your life, and in love, especially, and in your relationships and your work. And the way to get started working with me is always I offer a 75-minute one-time intensive with me. I call it the Soul Alignment Intensive, and it's offered at 50% off for people who are new to me. And you can find out by clicking the first link in the Soul Aligned PDF that is specifically designed for purpose-driven professionals. And so for entrepreneurs and leaders who essentially want to rewire and dissolve the patterns for good that are keeping you from feeling an expanded state of genius in your field and in your work. And so you can feel safe, easeful, and grounded in your lives and in your businesses, creating and receiving, having more of what you want. All right, so let's get started. Take a deep breath with me. So, as I mentioned, we're going to start with me sharing with you some of the main childhood wounds that keep us stuck and keep us in a mindset and sense of state of limitation. And then after that, I'm going to take you through the first half of my becoming process, which is what I teach my clients to essentially let go of the past, let go of the wounds, and recalibrate ourselves. So, deconstruct the conditioning so that we can come back into a place of freedom, a place of openness, and a place of liberation, and move into our business, our life, our relationships from a place of being able to receive and from a place of an open heart and deep spiritual connection to your higher self. So, a huge amount of the work that I do with clients is to help my clients rewire the subconscious misidentifications running the programs in your identity and to essentially be in the place of freedom inside yourself and choose sovereignty and essentially release the past, release the programs, release everything that's no longer really helpful, and so that you can feel safe, welcoming and receiving what's possible for you, welcoming and receiving your dreams, welcoming and receiving the best relationships. We can't welcome what's possible if we're essentially still conditioned with the past. You can't receive when your nervous system is in contraction. So it's very difficult for us to perceive that what we're seeing and what we're experiencing of the world is actually a construct. It's a construct that got created from our childhood and from our small young one inside and from a lens we put on our childhood. And this construct, unfortunately, is felt and it's experienced and it's expected of from us because it's felt in here in our heart and in our life and it's expected in a way unconsciously and it starts to create our reality. So a lot of the time, our limitations show up in our love life, our business, our work, our leadership, and our ability to own all of our gifts, shine bright in our genius, and have the relationships we ask for. And so all of that are literally ripples. They ripple out into the world. They're the reality that got created from these contracts, from these knots of limitation in a way that we took on from childhood. And so a lot of the work that we are doing is we're rewiring our bodies, we're rewiring our sense of it's not enough for me, I'm not enough. It's rewiring our mind. And like the true conditioning, the true wounding is held in the body and the subconscious. So it's held in the subconscious and populated in the perceptual filter, right? In our mind and how we see and sense and feel things. So if you're only here trying to fix the mindset, it's essentially not going to work without really looking at how deeply these beliefs are held and where the roots are in the body. It will change for a short period of time, but then you'll come right back to the same thing, the same pattern. So it's really important to go deep into the subconscious. And that's what I'm here to teach you and to do the work with your patterns to dissolve them for good. So, here are the main 6 childhood wounds that are going to show up in your life over and over again until you address them. And let's address them, deconstruct them, and recode your subconscious to be free of them. And essentially, the first wound is sense of being powerless, a sense that things are done to me and I have no power to change them. How many of us have felt that way, right? For a lot, very young children especially, that is a very true statement as kids that are the essential nice nature of being a young child or a baby is of being powerless. That sense of powerlessness starts to condition and construct the subconscious where we end up feeling like we have no power and no agency, no control in our lives as adults. And we start to ripple and recreate that. And it shows up in our lives. So, like, we feel like we're not in charge. And how many of us have felt that way, right? I've felt that way at times in my life. And you don't have agency, you don't have control over your life, over your success, over your happiness, over what's going on in your relationships. Some emotions that show up here are blame and feeling like a victim. Like if you're feeling that you want to know that it isn't a truth. This is a construct in your subconscious running a program in your life from a childhood wound, and it is a crystallized thought form that needs to be dissolved and unwrap that whole construct so that you can come back into a place of love for yourself and expansion and live from that expanded loving place. And so the second wound really is coming from a place of where you feel it haunts your life, and it's a wound around rejection and abandonment. And the main emotions here are feeling lonely, feeling like you don't belong, feeling unsupported, feeling a sense of grief and shame. And a lot of self doubt in business and relationships comes from here. And what if no one will support me? Is the thought process. What if no one will pay attention to my offerings and support my work in the world? These thoughts come from the wound of feeling rejected. And that fear will really keep us from putting ourselves out there from this place of, true confidence, right? Because we don't feel confident inside because of that programming. And it's deeply anchored and rooted. Really, it comes from our expansion. When we can feel confidence comes from our expansion. So that's number two. And the third one that shows up a lot in life and business will haunt us is the wound around not feeling lovable. The main emotions here are shame, feelings unappreciated, feeling inadequate. In some ways, it's feeling like there's something wrong with me, right? How many of us have felt that way? Some of the talk or the things around that can show up in relationships are people don't want me. They don't want what I have. Who am I to stand forward in my genius or my gifts? Who am I to share this? I don't have what it takes, right? Those are beliefs. I'm not ready. There's something wrong with me. Just a sense of feeling inadequate or feeling like we're not seen and loved in our expression and our gifts. This is a deep childhood wound, and it will haunt your life and business if something says that it's not safe to be me. The main emotion here is fear of being judged and criticized or being found out. It leads to us hiding who we really are and playing small, wearing a mask, downplaying our gifts, in many ways, downplaying what we've accomplished, or even downplaying and sabotaging our results that we get in life. So, some of the ways this shows up is in business or our relationships deeply, where we feel a sense of not seen. And what if I fail? What if I get found out? What if I'm judged? What if I'm criticized? What if people turn on me? Imposter syndrome will come up there. And also, just wearing a mask, like feeling like you've got to show up with a sort of alter ego rather than being yourself. Because what happens with this wound is the only fundamental belief is I can't succeed as me. I can't succeed doing it my way. So you're literally comparing yourself to other people, or you're also not trusting your own guidance internally, your own beautiful guidance system, your higher self. So that's the fourth one. And the fifth wound is I am not important. I'm unworthy wound. And some of these, like you'll see, they kind of mesh together some of the time. And the main emotions here are apathy, feeling unseen and invisible, feeling underappreciated, feeling like you're not enough and you always have to prove or improve yourself. And again, a sense of shame, right? Deep, deep, deep shame here. A sense of there might be something lacking or not enough or wrong with me. What I see here with people is a lot of people can have this. And again, it goes right into that downplaying, like downplaying our ability. I'm nothing special. My work is nothing special. There's others doing what I'm doing. We have more experience and are better than me. They're more together. They're more successful than me. A feeling that there's no reason to be proud of you or pre proud of me. And that's the thought process that goes on. So, like, I haven't done much. And the sixth wound that shows up in childhood that ripples out into our adult lives is, or in your business and relationships, is what I call the against me, with a sense of life is unfair or is hard. It's almost like a pessimistic, maybe black and white viewpoint. And it's basically trauma, and it's been very harsh, and it comes from very harsh parents or people that raised you that were very harsh. And there can be a feeling of apathy or resentment or a feeling unsupported by life. There's often a lot of undigested and unprocessed grief in someone who has this. And some of the thoughts is nothing comes easy to me. If I want to succeed, I'm going to have to do it all myself. I'm going to have to sacrifice a lot, almost like I can't do everything right and nothing works for me. So, God, that's so painful even to say all these. There's a little bit of a victim and a victimhood mindset here. And we almost feel like if it's against us, right? Like life is against us and there's everything is going to be hard for us is another thought. So that is something that's very old and it's very wired in your subconscious. And that's one of the main things I work with clients with, because if we need to get in here and root this stuff out, root out the sabotaging stuff that creates these sabotaging results. You will never allow yourself to have things to be simple and to have things be easy and to have things be enjoyable if you don't. And you literally create this because you expect things to be hard. You'll expect them to be hard for you in every way, and you'll not allow yourself to receive anything that doesn't feel hard or hard to hold or hard to maintain. So that's the sixth one. And these childhood wounds that keep popping up and haunting us as adults in our relationships and our business when we are triggered, when we are worried, when we are disappointed or stuck in some kind of old pattern of lack or abandonment or rejection or not enoughness. So, what happens is our ability to be regulated and to be relaxed, to be open, to be receptive is compromised. And when you're compromised in that way, you can't show up for yourself powerfully. You can't make powerful decisions from these places inside yourself, and you can't create powerfully, and you can't receive abundantly love and the gifts of the joy of the soul with ease. So, just like a fig tree is only coated to create figs, you'll never get limes from a fig tree when your subconscious is running these misidentifications about you as programs in your life. You are literally coded for more conditioning, more contraction, not expansion. You are coded for what you believe is possible, for the experience you expect to receive. And this is so deep in the subconscious, it's the young one. And when our nervous system is contracted, we're armored. And when we are armored, we resist change, we resist growth, we resist anything that's going to feel useful and is going to feel really deeply nourishing. So we essentially resist receiving. Armoring is a resistance to keep ourselves safe and protected. It's the ego's defense mechanism. So that's the first thing that we're having to change here, right? And come into compassion for self for all these things. We're having to really work with it on all levels so that you can shift it and learn strategies that will really support your upgrade in consciousness. And most importantly, it's about executing the strategy for your being and your nervous system to stop having the armoring and to stop really resisting receiving and welcoming receiving with ease. So you literally make everything hard for yourself when you block yourself from receiving your results in life and what you really want. And then you'll think it's a strategy, but it's not the strategy. It's the driver behind the strategy, which happens to be your ego and which happens to be deeply held nervous system, armoring strategies. And so this is about letting go of that conditioning altogether, giving it a break, completing it, dissolving it, releasing it so that you can have more capacity and the ability to create, receive, and hold at any given time what you truly want, and so much more to be able to expand and become more of you and expand your nervous system, expand your whole entire being so that you create effortlessly, easily. It's really easy to receive in life. And this is why learning to shift this out of contraction and into expansion, learning to rewire and recalibrate our nervous system and regulate our expansion and regulate our system so it feels really deeply nourishing and really good. Who wants this, right? Letting go of the wounded parts and bringing them all the way back into wholeness and a sense of peace, a sense of freedom, a sense of completing the curriculum here. And it's absolutely necessary and is a non negotiable to really clear this stuff and be in this heart of growth in your life and receive the results you want in your life and in your relationships and in your businesses. If any of this resonates and you are ready to create wholeness and receive a revolution from within, then I want to encourage you to book one of my breakthrough soul alignment sessions with me. It's 50% off, and you can do that by clicking the link in the soul alignment mini course PDF I've sent over to you. So the moment that you sense that there is contraction inside of you, things feel hard, things feel heavy, you're anxious, right? If you feel this, you feel overwhelmed, you can't seem to stop it. Like we all know when this is occurring inside of ourselves. So this is an opportunity for you to feel more expanded when things feel tight and when they feel heavy, when you feel held back. That's actually your inner sense. It's a felt sense. It's not just a thought. It's something we know and we feel in our bodies. So when this moment occurs for you, there's a contraction going on inside. And this is where it's about your old story and some old hurts or old beliefs or misidentifications that you no longer need and they're no longer serving you are essentially available to work with. And this must be done in work in the shifting the subconscious, shifting ourself out of contraction, out of dysregulation, out of what essentially is not serving us anymore. And we can actually move back into the state of receiving more with ease. And that comes through a healing. You have to be able to let go of what was, let go of the wounds of the past, complete them in consciousness, and be open to what is possible. So you can operate from possibility and you can be open to what is possible for you on a whole new level. Like really see it from God's eyes. Essentially, the moment we're stuck in the past, we're recreating the conditioning or a belief system that's anchored and seated in us from the past. And the only thing we are recreating is the past trauma. So you're either moving and operating and creating what is possible, or you're moving, operating, and creating the past. Ooh, that's so heavy, right? At times. And how do we define what we want and what we want deeply in consciousness? Well, it takes working on it. And it's about learning discernment about what is truly possible for you. So now I'm going to give you what I consider to be the most powerful 3 steps to bring your body and subconscious out of contraction and bring your identity out of contraction and bring you back into regulation, into relaxation inside yourself, opening to more receptivity. So, because you cannot create and receive without being open, without being receptive, this is a part of my becoming more process. I've designed this process over essentially almost 20 years of actually serving clients in deep belief work, plus my own personal development for years, and 7 years of serving in University of Santa Monica and spiritual psychology work. It's what I do personally. I do this work every day and is what I take my clients through and what I teach them to do with themselves when they feel stuck, when they feel a sense that they're in contraction, and when they're dysregulated and when they're overwhelmed. So it's absolutely a life-changing process despite its simplicity. So step 1 is always to give yourself permission to whatever you are feeling, sensing, thinking, believing, and most likely doubting about yourself. You want to validate your own experience and you want to essentially release the resistance that you are having to this moment or to yourself. You can't shift into what could be if you are at war with what is. So, permission is huge. Step 1 is always about releasing resistance. And like breathe into that. That's so true. And resistance is the blocker to receiving. So it's essentially the opposite of receiving. There's something here too around permission, that that first wound of powerlessness that we spoke of. The moment that you give permission, you shift out of powerlessness. You shift out of victimhood. You shift out of the world is against me, and that speaks to this young part of you who is feeling contracted and who's feeling disappointed. Her feeling overwhelmed, or him feeling rejected or ashamed or underappreciated or unsupported, will not be able to relax and settle until he or she feels met and feels acknowledged, feels welcomed, and feels safe to be who she is. So the power of permission is also about that wound that says, it's not safe to be me. The power of permission is really hitting a lot of these original wounds and core wounds that we talked about. And it's the beginning of the training. It literally tells you that you have the power. You're no longer powerless. It tells you that it's safe to be you. It tells you that you are being supported and seen in the moment, right? Like, oh, it's so beautiful. There's a lot of power and permission here. So the first step is always to essentially say this to the part of you who feels wounded, who feels contracted. Hey, it's okay. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. I'm right here for you. I'm right here with you. It's okay to feel afraid. I'm it's okay to feel worried. It's okay that you're who you are right now, and I'm here with you. And oftentimes, this will bring the nervous system back to some degree into regulation. Step two is something I call providing the missing experience. Those wounds that I mentioned earlier all arose out of our childhood sense of not receiving and what we needed from our caretakers, right? We didn't receive from them. And that missing experience is essentially what got us to go from here, from expansion, from confidence, from feeling safe, to be here, to be safe in ourself and to be alive. We wouldn't be disappointed. We started to trust less is what happens in this process. And we started to think something was wrong with us, that we were not enough. And all of that is the wounding and the conditioning of the wounding inside that really can haunt our heart. So, and haunts our adult lives and shows up in our relationships and our perceptual filter. And hence our, it really can affect and impact our business and how we show up in our everywhere. Every front of our life is affected, truly. So to bring our body out of contraction and the wounding and back into wholeness, back into expansion, that is innately who you are. It is your innate nature. Love is your essential nature. And it's really about coming home to this, and I have to start providing these parts that got wounded a new perspective and a new experience. That we're looking for the missing experience. Usually, in all my years of experience, this is the power of doing this work. One on one, I work with one on one, I provide these three things. But then we also check and see what else is missing here. This is the part that's needing something from life, and be able to come back into openness, to be able to come back into feeling safe, feeling relaxed, feeling receptive, feeling expanded. And the three main missing experiences that I find over and over again come back to all of this. First, it's unconditional love. Essentially, when you are addressing the missing experience of unconditional love, you're telling your wounded child, or the part of you who is contracted here, is that I love you exactly the way you are. I love you no matter what. This is a missing experience that we all need to hear. Every single one of us. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how we show up. And it doesn't matter that we broke a glass, or that, we made a mistake, right? We are unconditionally loved exactly the way we are, no matter what. That is a core missing experience that brings our entire system back into wholeness, back into expansion, back into feeling really safe. And it's about being fully anchored and present in ourself. The second missing experience is it's coming back over and over again. It's a sense of being unconditionally supported. When you provide the missing experience of unconditional support, what you're telling your wounded child, or the part of you who is hurt and contracted here, is that I've got you. I am here for you. I am here to support you, and I have your back. Like, wow, no matter what, we will figure this out together. You're never going to be alone. This unconditional support heals all these parts of us that feel like we don't belong, like we're not enough, like we're unworthy, like the world doesn't want us, and like there's never enough support for us, is a primary experience that most of us are missing. And so that doesn't allow us to actually receive the third missing experience that comes back over and over and over again. And it's essentially to provide ourselves with what I call praise and appreciation. When you're providing that to the part of you who is wounded, who's stuck, who's contracted, it's the little child inside. It's the one that wants attention, and saying to them, you know, I don't care what you do or don't do. I am proud of you, no matter what you are reminding me of here in this moment, this part of you, and no matter what they say. And what is important is that you matter, and I'm proud of you. That all of us, our children inside, want our caretakers to be proud of us. You know, that's what it's like. Look at me, look at me, look at this drawing. Like, right? They want attention. Look at what I did. Look at this beautiful art I made. That's the little child inside that wants attention and acknowledgement and appreciation and a sense of love, right? And we have to give that to ourselves. We have to acknowledge the young one inside and say, I'm so proud of you. And when you can provide this missing experience, it changes, a game changer. And so no matter what you do or don't do, I'm proud of you exactly as you are. It releases the pressure. It releases it, it dissipates it, it gives it a whole new sense of I'm worthy. It dissolves the I'm not enough story. It dissolves the sense of lack. So these are the three main missing experiences that I've experienced working with clients. And so step 2 provides ourselves the missing experience, and then as a unique being, you will have your own missing experience. You will have your own things that your wounded child needed to hear, needed to experience, and that you needed to have the parts of you that are learning to provide this. So stop looking for it outside of yourself, right? And let yourself become your biggest ally. You become essentially the center and ground core love for these parts. You're able to let go of the past. We must provide the part of us that felt hurt, that felt unsafe, and that felt unworthy and not enough, the missing experience. It's only when we give this to them that they feel whole inside. They will be able to relax and open and be receptive and not feel tricked by life, right? All these parts of us that got contracted and got wounded, they literally have shut down their own magic. And we release that magic to be free through this work. This unlocks a piece of your power, a piece of your magic, and a piece of your wisdom, right? Like that's so beautiful. A piece of your wisdom. Come into that, like really breathe for that. And when you do this work, you provide permission to the young one, permission for the missing experience to come in and heal. And you start to bring your whole system back into the sense of safety, back into the sense of abundance and enoughness, and feeling supported, feeling seen, feeling acknowledged, feeling loved. All the blocks start to open up and release, and they become like little jewels and treasures that you find the missing magic that you've been missing all along, which is your power and your sense of your own innate trust inside of yourself. And this is all healed. It just falls away and dissolves. So it's, again, like I said, a part of your power. And everything you do when you work with these little pieces of your magic and your power, they're released back into your life and anchored. They're anchored into your life, and you become clearer and more of who you are and what you're here to do. And the most aligned way for you to market yourself, for you to show up for yourself, to provide the services you provide. And when that happens, that is literally life changing. It's like a cloak of invincibility gets removed. Everything within you starts to feel, sense, and see how loved you really are, and that you can succeed, and that it doesn't have to be hard. And so it's about permission, it's about providing the missing experience, and it's about providing that unconditional support for yourself. And so the final step I'm going to share with you today is what I call rewiring your subconscious for unconditional trust. Now, I talked about the six main childhood wounds, right? And we get wounded, and that's from our imprints and a sense of rejection by life. And sometimes we play small in big ways, and we're grown here. So we lose something fundamental when we have this happen. And I call that missing a fundamental thing that feels lost is unconditional trust. And when a baby's born, think about it, the baby's just feeling so loved, nourished, held. There's nothing missing. But over time, through our conditioning and through our imprints, this shifts. And when you think about, the baby being born, it's safe. It feels warm. It feels fed. It's always held and taken care of most of the time, unless a woman has a really tough pregnancy, and that's a whole other story. But majority of the time, the baby feels seen, held, safe, and taken care of. And so it's absolute important that this baby knows it is safe. Its needs need to be met. It will be picked up. It will be changed. It will be fed. This is so important for the baby's survival and thriving. And it's a sense of unconditional trust that's formed. As we become more of ourself, toddlers into children, that sense of trust becomes eroded. That sense of, the wounds of the world, and that sense of, it's against me, it's got to be hard. Those, all of the things talked about earlier, the rejection wounds, all of that are actually an erosion of trust in life. And you can't trust yourself, and you don't trust if you don't trust life. So part 3 is just a simple process of starting to rewire our subconscious for unconditional trust. We start to anchor ourselves in the knowing and the embodiment that everything is actually working all out for us. It's always working for us. Even if we can't quite see it or experiencing it, remembering to root into that place of what you're telling your wounded child, or the part of you that is hurt and contracted, is working on unconditional trust. It's that even though it might not seem like it's right now, whatever you need, all is well, and it's always working for me. We are reminded, that part of us, that there's no need to freeze right now. There's no need to run. There's no need to fight. There's no need to resist. And there's no need to come back into armoring, because all of this, even if it feels hard, is actually part of the grand plan. It's part of what life has designed for us. And it's the emergence of the sense of unconditional trust and working with ourselves, our curriculum around trust. Trust is essential in our being. It is faith. It is the thing that will allow you to show up powerfully when you don't know what the results will be. And you might not even know what's going on around you, but it's about leaning fully into this place of trust, and that sense of possibility is there for you. Remember, before I said you can only move and operate and create from the past, or you can move and operate and create what is possible. Unconditional trust helps us step out of the past and to step into possibility. You can create a really thriving, truly satisfying, and sustainable life and relationships without being in this place of possibility and in being anchored in trust. So, the shift of anchoring our identity and trust, along with the first two steps, is what allows us to get regulated. It's what allows us to enter into a state of relaxation, a state of freedom, a state of peace, and a state of openness, out of which clarity, confidence, creativity, wisdom emerges, and out of which an ability to receive at a deeper level, hold more, emerges. And when you have that sense of knowing and clarity and wisdom and receptivity, you're able to essentially know exactly what you're supposed to do next. And you're able to move and execute and make decisions in a way that is aligned, and it resonates with the fruits you desire to create and receive. And without that, you either do the wrong things, you do the right things, but from like the wrong energy, right? Or the wrong sense of being, and you sabotage it. Or you do the right things and you might even be in the right energy, or you're armored and you're closer. You don't allow yourself to welcome what's coming your way and you block your results. So, these three steps that I just went over with you are essentially the first half of my becoming process. And they're all about the process of really coming back into openness and into feeling really safe inside yourself, feeling regulated in your nervous system, feeling regulated in your body, and changing those subconscious programs for good. And so when you know this process, it can be done in a minute. It doesn't sound like it's this long, right? Because I've been walking you through it. But when you actually know it, it really is fast. And it's less than a minute, honestly, and I do it. And you can do it anytime you feel yourself blocked, and every time you feel yourself in resistance, every time you feel yourself heavy. You can do it literally. Bring yourself back into regulation and openness. It's my desire that you feel expanded, receptive, and anchored in trust at all times. That's what we're going for. So we start to rewire ourselves and we can be able to grow expansively from this place of safety and sustainability and receive more, hold more, have more, and be everything we want without getting overwhelmed, without sabotaging it, and without essentially collapsing the timeline or the energy. So first we regulate all of ourself and come back into safety, relaxation, receptivity. That is essentially the permission, providing the missing experience and trust, like we are reawakening our trust that in our deepest self, to rewire the subconscious for more and to start being able to calibrate and recalibrate our subconscious for something that is actually beyond our own experience. And remember, we're always creating either from the past or recreating from possibility of trust in our own soul's design. And oftentimes it's very hard to go beyond what it knows and what has been normalized. So now we start this work, right? So what I shared today is been important to me and my clients. It's the most powerful process to bring yourself out of contraction and out of limitation, out of the past and back into possibility, back into wholeness and freedom inside yourself. And so it starts with your body. It starts with your belief structures. It starts to find where we find the misidentifications, all the little parts that feel so hurt, and bring them to feeling safe and worthy and create the results of receiving the results of what you want. And if you're ready to expand out of contraction and you want to actually do some repair and recalibration work of your subconscious so that you can achieve, have more of what you're asking for in your relationships, have more of what you're asking for, more enjoyment, feel deeply nourished by your work, by your life, then I would love to work with you. I would love to work with you. I want to help you anchor trust and live from this place of trusting your higher self and being able to succeed massively in your life, in your love life, and owning your gifts in a way that truly delights you. That truly honors you and your beautiful gifts, that honors you, nourishes you, and helps people and I help people get started. I always offer a 75-minute one-on-one breakthrough intensive, 50% off, and you can book through clicking the link in the PDF that I sent over. And the intensive is about exploring and figuring out exactly what your core family themes and wounds have been about and what blocks are there and what's holding you back. And then I'm going to teach you the becoming process. I'm going to show you exactly what to do to bring yourself out of that contraction, out of that woundedness, and back into wholeness, back into expansion. How does that sound? It's such a fun process. I love giving this gift. And so it's really coming from a place of downloading what you need, what needs to happen next, and being in an open, expanded place. And then if we want to continue to work together from there, I'll give you a couple of different options and that will fit your needs and fit your budget so that we can keep doing the work together and we can keep rewiring, recoding, help you receive more, support you at a deepest level, and really find those misidentifications that are forming those patterns so that you can be in success and so that you can remember that you have everything you need to succeed in life and you are the most powerful force in your life. That being said, it's always easier to get there with the help of somebody who is walking the path, because not only have I walked the path, I'm walking it with you right now. And so I'm not perfect. I have pattern that comes up, but I use the tools that I've been given. And this is a lifelong work so that I can be with you and do this work with you and show you how to do this work for yourself. And I'm not so far ahead of the curve that I don't, have a sense of connection. I have deep experience in this work and a really desire to help you come home to the parts inside that have been hurting you and where the wounds are and really heal at the deepest levels and coming back into that place of care and expansion and freedom for yourself. And your outer life is always a reflection of your inner life and a ripple of who you are being and where your nervous system is at all times. And it's about coming back to that expanded state. So, this is about marrying the strategic part of our creating and receiving in life, the results we want, mixed with the subconscious work, the soul work that allows us to actually execute, express, and receive at the biggest levels in our life. And so, all right, I hope you found this helpful. It's wonderful to work with you today. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with me for this long. Bless you, bless your life. I look forward to working with you. It is such a deep gift and an honor to share this information. I have so much passion inside to do the work with you. I have healed really deep rejection patterns, deep abuse patterns. I understand this stuff like the back of my hand, and somehow God has given me a beautiful gift to be able to hear, sense, and feel into the patterning. It's like I can just connect the dots of what's going on in your consciousness and help you understand where it is familially and intergenerationally. And so it's such a blessing and such a gift to do this work. And I can't wait to meet you and I can't wait to support you and really help you untangle from the things that have maybe holding you back deeply in your life. And really, let's explore it. I'm here with love, so much love for you and what's going on in your world. And I know together we can overcome it, recode it, recalibrate it, dissolve it, let it go like an old coat, and your whole life changes inwardly and outwardly. And then it becomes the fruits that just keep fruiting in your life. So, God bless you. Bless you. And if you're interested, please book a call with me. I would love to support you. Blessings to you.